Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner into a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile, and we're going to be covering the Thunder Dragons once again, but this time around we're going to be going over pure Thunder Dragon featuring Titan and Kaminari Attack and some other spicy goodness. And the reason why we're doing this is that with the ban list on the horizon, there's a very good chance that cards in this deck will get hit, and I really wanted to at least do a profile on pure Thunder Dragon once while it's still at relatively full power, and yeah, so that's that. As far as this deck goes, obviously the pure version of the deck is not as good as the Danger version. The Danger deck is obviously able to make the much better boards, it's better at breaking boards, and hell, it just won Nationals. The meme is dead. Thunder Dragons no longer just get second place, they get first places at the tournaments that matter the most, such as Nationals. And yeah, like, if you have the choice between playing the Danger version or the pure version, you obviously play the Danger Guard Dragon Crusadia package, but the pure version does have some merits. It's able to do a couple neat little things that I found to be really cool, and it's not as explosive, but it's also a bit better at grinding. Like, it has a better long game than the Danger version. It's just obviously one version of the deck is much better than the others, like I've mentioned. So, that being said, let's get into at least my little take on pure Thunder Dragon. It's not anything particularly spicy, it's just I decided to play the cards that I wanted to play. So, anyway, since you're playing pure, obviously you play triplicates of all the good Thunder Dragons. So, 3 OG, 3 Dark, 3 Hawk. I hope to God this thing does not go to 1 here. Colossus to 1, I don't like it, but I would be able to accept it. But Hawk to 1 on top of that, I feel would be overkill. That's just like my take on what Japan did to the deck. 3 copies of Roar, 2 copies of Matrix, and then 1 copy of Duo. And to act as a second copy of Duo, but also as a bit better of a Duo, 1 BLS Envoy of the Beginning, as he serves as the same role as Duo. It's a Chaos Summon that can trigger these guys' effect from the graveyard. It's just BLS can be a potential blowout against certain decks, and then Duo is just a searchable version of it. Only 2 Matrixes have found him to be clumpy at 3, but still obviously want to run the second copy of it so you can search it off of itself. And yeah, like, all these are pretty self-explanatory. In this build, you're much more trying to abuse Hawk to extend and start plays and whatnot. And Duo, you want to search after your second turn to try and like kickstart your endgame play. Speaking of things that start the deck up, we've got 3 copies of Batterman Solar as the only normal summon here. I'm not playing a Luke Lupine. I did try it for a little bit, and it was okay, but I figured, you know what, I'll just cut him out and like keep my deck size down. I don't want to go too high above 40, especially if I wanted to fit some cards in here. So just the 3 Solar. And then for hand traps, which is a thing that this deck gets to play, is in addition to 3 copies of Phantasmal Dragon Phantasme, I'm playing 2 Ash Blossom into Effect Veiler, as unlike the Danger version, you can actually play hand traps in here. And like, my general thought process was with this deck is, I want to end my turns with a Titan, a Colossus, and maybe a hand trap or 2 in my hand. Phantasmal Dragon Phantasme is also, in addition to being able to just Phantasme and good in the format, he also has this, because of his ability to more or less mulligan your hand, he's really useful for helping you dig into discard fodder for Titan in case you're just short one. Like, maybe you are only able to end your turn with just the Dragon Dark in your hand, but through Phantasme, you're able to draw into a Dragon Matrix as well. So he's useful for correcting your hand. He's also allows you to do things like add 2 copies of Thunder Dragon off of its discard, as unlike the Danger version where you would discard 1, add 2, in this version you discard 1 and add only 1, just so you can kickstart your Thunder Dragon engine. But with Phantasme, you can add the 2 copies and shuffle them back into the deck, so you at least have the 1 in the deck, so that on the next turn when you go into your Titan, you can trigger it. And then Ash and Veiler I just found to be the 2 best generic hand traps. Ogre is also an option that I might consider in the future, but I like Veiler's ability to negate stuff when my opponent tries to chain block me. And then that is it for the monster effects. As far as the spells go, it's a pretty straightforward setup. 3 copies of Called by the Grave to stop hand traps and to get around card effects such as the Salamar Great Link one. I keep calling it Wheelchair Cat because that's what my friends call it, but Phalanx, that's it. You can use this to get rid of Phalanx, you can use it to get rid of Dingirsu, and you can use it to shut off things in the mirror match such as Titan or certain Thunder Dragons. 3 Allure Darkness because it triggers your Thunder Dragon banish effects and allows you to just kickstart your plays. 3 copies of Instant Fusion, it's an extender, it's a starter, it can break boards. I feel like this is one of the main appeals to playing per Thunder Dragon over other variations, is because you can abuse Instant Fusion, and I feel like for this deck, to continue seeing play, at least over in the OCG, they're gonna have to use this. Like, I know they don't always play Instant Fusion in their build, and I feel like that's just not right. And another thing they can also do is maybe bump up Fusion to 3. Fusion is a good extender, and from turn 2 onwards, it can help start the plays again. I might bump it up to 3 if anything happens to Hawk in the main deck, we'll see. And then 2 copies of Pot of Desires and a Gold Sarcophagus. Pot of Desires because this deck is inherently slower than the Danger build, and Pot speeds it up. I'm playing max copies of almost every good card in here. BLS, Duo, and Matrix are the exceptions, but that's fine. And then Gold Sarcophagus is a starter card and an extender. Like, it's really good in here, and I get an excuse to play my Gold Series 2 Gold Sarcophagus, which was used in both my Disaster and I think I used it in my Blue Eyes Ruler deck that I used to get my first and third tops respectively. Yeah, so basically this Gold Sark and I have got a bit of a history. And okay, so onto the extra deck, we of course got the 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Colossus, who his effectiveness is a bit hit or miss in the format, in my opinion. Like, against Sky Striker and to some extent Salamangreat Great, he's obviously useful for his not letting you search stuff, but I still feel like Salad is able to get over this thing, and Orcus just does not give 2 shits about Colossus. And then 3 copies of Titan, which I feel is like another reason to play this deck, if you're going to play this deck, is because of Titan. His abilities are, if he would be destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can banish 2 cards from your graveyard instead. He's 32/32, so it's very difficult to actually get over this thing without destruction effects. And he can answer some of your opponent's ways of getting around it, such as Borreload Dragon, because when you activate the effect of a Thunder Monster in your hand, you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls. It's non-targeting. It's also not a once per turn. It's just, I think, once per chain. The thing is, though, your opponent can chain block this by activating a card effect in response to your Thunder Monster's effect in the hand, therefore making Thunder Dragon Titan miss timing. So keep that in the back of your mind when you're trying to use Titans. But if your opponent's not able to respond to your Titan, then you could potentially pick apart their board depending on how you construct your play. A neat little thing such as you fusion summon Titan out, and you have 2 Thunder Dragons in your deck, so you just discard 1, add another, pop a card, discard 1, add another, pop a card, and potentially go from there. Like, I was able to once blow up 4 cards because I was able to get 2 Thunder Dragon discards off with Titan. Then I used Thunder Dragon Fusion to make a second Titan, and then I discarded 2 more Thunder Dragons, and then yeah. Titan also is useful for being able to go into rank 10s, which is why I am playing in here. And if your opponent has an open board and you're able to get 2 Titans out, that's OTK. So, yeah. And then for instant fusion targets, 1 Kaminari attack, you can use this to go into a Titan, and then 1 Thousand Eyes Restrict. Tear I found to be just the better of the 2 options you have over this and Millennium Eyes. Millennium Eyes is useful for stopping hand traps, but Thousand Eyes is useful for breaking boards. And if I'm going second, that's what I want to do. He either baits out a negate, or he doesn't, and I get to out one opponent's monster, and then I get to link it off into a Link Kariba, which opens up an extra monster zone for me, and potentially go from there. And then he's also dark too, so Millennium Eyes is also a dark, but so it's dark fodder for your Chaos monsters, and that's it for the fusions. Now for the Xyz monsters, as I mentioned, I am playing rank 10s. In particular, we've got Gustav Max, the Birthday Candle, and Juggernaut Lieb, the Big Birthday Candle. So Gustav takes 2 level 10s, and you can detach material to ping your opponent for 2,000 damage. So, you might have done the math already. Against an open board, and you have 2 Titans, that's 32, 32, that's 84. I mean, 82. Where did I get 84 off of that? So, there is that. Or, you can also use your 2 Titans to make this first, ping your opponent for 2,000, and then you can go into your Lieb, who can exceed summon itself on top of a rank 10 machine monster. And what Lieb does is, it is able to make attacks on monsters equal to its materials plus 1. So in this instance, since I have 2 materials, I can attack 3 monsters. It's 4,000, 4,000, and it also has the ability to detach material to buff itself up by 2,000 in attack and defense, but it's the only monster that can declare attacks. You don't really use that effect very often, but if your opponent is, say, playing Salamangreat Great, and they leave themselves with a Sunlight Wolf and the Balenix on board, which are 18 and 500 respectively, and they've got the Balenix in the graveyard, you could, and if they're like not aware of it, you could swing this into the Balenix which is at 6,000, so they take 5,500. And if they banish the Balinx to protect it from being killed, then you just swing to it again and they're dead. Or you swing to the Sunlight Wolf, and then you swing to the Balinx. Basically, if your opponent has a board of monsters and you can't clear them all with Titan, but you still think you can game shot them, then you just deal 2,000 damage with this, and you just slap the lead down, and you just smack their monsters, and then you potentially kill them, because it's a 4,000 beat stick to potentially 2,000 attack monsters. They only have 6,000 life points, so you just need to do a couple hits and they're dead. Then for the Link monsters, we're playing Some Summer Summoner at 2 copies. I keep trying to play this at 1 because I feel like I should be able to get away with it, but I end up needing a second copy every time I do, so we're back to 2 of this again. Then 1 copy of Borreload Dragon as the 1 Link 4 in here. Borreload is just good in general. Like, he breaks boards, he gets around opposing Titans and Colossuses, assuming of course the Titan doesn't have a live discard effect, but then again, you can like use Borreload to reduce its attacking defense and make it miss timing. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, Borreload is just useful for breaking boards. Then you've got Nightmare Unicorn and Phoenix as the Nightmares I'm playing in here. No room for Cerberus. And then 1 copy of Link Karibo because you can make it with 1,000 Extra Strict and Thunder Dragon Matrix, which is obviously quite useful. And that is it for the deck itself. So as I kind of alluded to at the beginning, the ban list is on the horizon, and this deck does have a target on effect, especially now that the Danger version managed to win Nationals, and that the Pure version got hit in the OCG, and in my opinion, once again, I feel like I got it hit a bit too hard for my liking, but then again, I might be slightly biased here, given that I've got the deck. It is set to be reprinted in the upcoming Mega Tins, though, because of Soul Fusion being in there, so I don't know if Konami really would go after this deck that hard. They might hit Colossus, and I think they would leave it at that. We'll see. But like, I feel like the Thunder Dragons will be another selling point of the Tins alongside the Dangers, and yeah, Thunder Dragons and Dangers. I feel like those would be like the Colossus, the Dangers, and quite possibly Livianir would be the like sought after cards in there, along with like Impermanence reprints. No, I don't think they'll put Impermanence in there, but you've also got like foil upgrades to things like Nightmare Mermaid and whatnot. So in any case, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this take on Thunder Dragons. Tune in next time for when I eventually do an update to Narukami in Karma Vanguard as my other Thunder Dragon update come the end of August. But in any case, that's all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Until next time, this is 239, jacking out.